Hello everyone, good morning. Today is 31st of October and welcome to the Hindu newspaper analysis discussion. So guys, in the today's video, we are going to discuss the entire Hindu newspaper. We'll see article with the background as well as the detailed way forward and all such kind of things also will be seen. Now, before starting, I would like to tell you that if you are new here, you can download the synoptic notes of all these articles. In the synoptic notes, you will find the detailed discussion along with the background and you can use these synoptic notes for your content preparation. Guys, in the last, we have also given the mains practice question. Fine. So you can download these synoptic notes from the Telegram channel. The link for the Telegram channel has been given in the description box. Moreover, you can visit Telegram and can search there by typing Thinking Palette by Sahil in the search bar. Okay, now before starting, first of all, let's take the overview of the entire newspaper so that actually you can understand that articles are taken from which page and which articles are important. So the first article, the 90 drawn in the Gujarat river as suspension bridge collapses. Now guys, the article it is not very much relevant for our UPSC examination, though indeed it is an unfortunate incident that happened. Now demand grows but DNA test fall under a grey area. Now, basically guys, in this particular direction, we will see this particular article and we will be doing a kind of an elaborative debate on the right to privacy versus DNA based criminal investigation and all such kind of things, and even the DNA profiling bill and all those things we'll discuss here. Then further moving on, after that Brazil elections are being discussed, fine. Then the advertisements etc. not very much important. Then guys, in the city section, the regional issues, the rising pollution problem into the North India because of the stubble burning. Fine, the stubble burning is contributing to around 26% into the pollution. However, you don't need to track everyday development in this particular direction. Just one thing I want to tell you here guys, that over the past few days as this issue is evolving, we have seen multiple newspapers where sustainable solutions of stubble burning has been discussed. So that is very important, and into the past few days we have discussed multiple of them. Just for your revision, we have seen this particular thing that actually the stubble that is being burnt, it can be used for multiple purposes which will bring economic advantage and which will be environmentally sustainable. For example, making the biomass pellets by this stubble which can be used into the coal power plants. Then after that, this particular stubble can be converted into the second generation ethanol. And guys, when we talk about the second generation ethanol, now you see government is having the target of ethanol blending with petrol. So 20% ethanol is to be blended with the petrol by 2025. So ethanol blending can be done. Thirdly guys, basically we have seen one article where CBG plant, okay, compressed biogas plants are being developed, and in these CBG plants the stubble can be used, okay, for making the CBG stubble can be used, and then that compressed biogas can be used for the transportation sector. So these are the few things that we have seen into the past few days. So the solutions for stubble burning is important. Now every day how much is the eco etc. is not that something important, okay. So just you need to see the solutions and all such kind of things, okay. Then moving on, other things are not very much important. Then in the city section, again moving on, MCD polls, elections, fine, no need to go too much into such kind of details. Political issues etc. have been given, okay. So guys, moving on in this particular direction. So a lot of advertisements and such kind of things are there. So directly we'll reach to the editorial page. The first editorial, the extra constitutional decisions of the Raj Bhavan. Will see the tussle going on between the office of governor and the chief minister in the Kerala, and this issue is coming from so many of the days. The check over the USA's much anticipated NSS, okay. So national security strategy will discuss. Then united against the terror. So guys, united against the terror. So what has happened, the India has hosted the CTC, that is the committee to basically Counter Terrorism Committee, CTC. Okay, now what this CTC had mandated, why the CTC is important, and what are the steps that India has taken in order to deal with the problem of terrorism. Guys, see this thing. Minister of External Affairs has mentioned that the terrorism is the gravest threat which the humanity is facing. So we'll see all those dimensions. Then further moving on, a bird in the hand. So the article is talking about the Elon Musk who has finally taken over the Twitter, okay. A month before polls, what is on the Gujarat's voters' mind. Now guys, no need to follow this particular article. The article is talking about the impending elections into the Gujarats, okay. So what right now the voters are concerned, so not important. Moreover, it will not mean much once these elections have been completed. Why was the Mia Muslim Mia Museum sealed. Okay, now guys, in the text and the context page, okay, one thing I want to tell you, see, you might be having some other edition of the Hindu newspaper, and sometimes in your edition the text and the context page might be towards the last. Okay. Okay, so the text and the context. The first article, why was the Mia Museum sealed? So basically guys, the Mia Museum, the Mia Museum, okay, it was showcased to it was opened up to showcase the Bengali speaking or Bengali origin Muslims, okay, in the Assam. Now after that, it has generated the controversy. It has been said that, okay, it is trying to show one culture in prominent light, and all such kind of things happened, and actually out of a kind of a political controversy and because of some other issues, this particular museum has been sealed. Number one, it was being provided that it was opened into the unit that was given under the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, okay, and secondly, there were some vested interest, fine. Now this issue has become very much politicized, and in the article also the political references etc. has been given, not very much important for the examination, so I'll not suggest you to go too much in the detail. Then, are there anti-superstition laws in India? So recently the human sacrifice issue happened in the Kerala, so in that particular direction, do we have a national law? If not, then what are the different state governments have done that thing, and what should be the sustainable solution? All those things we'll see here. Okay, then the Mark Zuckerberg's metaverse buffers as Meta shares burn. Okay, so guys, the article is talking about that into the past, the Meta, which is led by Mark Zuckerberg, its share has declined and it has faced a lot of financial burdens and all such kind of things. So it might be causing the delays into the implementation of the metaverse and all such kind of things. Now, just for your reference, what is metaverse? Okay, so guys, the metaverse, it is a virtual alternate basically it is a virtual alternate universe that exists in which you enter. Is it clear? So metaverse is, it is a kind of an alternative universe, okay, fine, which in which you will be having your avatar, you can play different roles there, okay. So that is thing. Now into the metaverse, the people can meet with each other, the people can interact with each other. So this is a plan, okay. So the digital realms that are there, they will be connected under the metaverse, okay. Now the article for UPSC doesn't contain much of a substance. So how the Facebook's shares are declining and all such kind of things, the corporate trends of the Meta etc., they have been talked about. So for example, their quarterly profits dropped by this much into the past 3 months and all such kind of things, not important for the exam, okay. Then further moving on, after that guys, into the regional section, fine, there are the regional issues etc. that has been there, okay. Now just there is one word that has come, okay, that is the proselytization, okay. Now what is the proselytization? Proselytization means an act of converting another person's religion, often with the force, okay. So it has been provided that some of the foreigner tourists who came in India, they are involving into the act of the proselytization, that is, they are converting the people in other religions, so therefore they have been arrested. Now the article doesn't contain much substance, but the word, okay, proselytization, that is the conversion of the religion, is something that can be used in your answers or in the questions, because the communalism has directly been mentioned into the GS paper number 1. So rather than using the basic words such as the religious conversions etc., such kind of a terminologies looks little bit impressive, fine. However, you should not sweat a lot over that. Then the political issues etc. have been provided, not important for the exam, not important, okay. So simply we'll be moving. India now enables low cost production, high output. So we'll see the indigenization of defense in this article. OneWeb satellite, we'll see. This is the Pradhan Mantri's Man Ki Baat that was there. So what are the references? Some case studies have been given, we'll see that. Then the dolphins return to the Ganga, so the Gangetic Dolphin, its status and all such kind of things, we'll see here. Then further moving on, so here we have the money wise page. Today is Monday, and on Monday the business page doesn't comes. In the money wise page, okay, the investing advices, stock market, such things are there, no need to go, fine. Then we have the world page. So the Brazil elections, fine, stampede into the South Korea, they are being discussed, not very important for the exam. And then we have the sports page, okay. So now guys, let's discuss all these relevant articles one by one in the detail. Okay, Let's take first of all the GS quotation. Now in every class we start with a GS quotation which can be used in your GS papers or in your essay to complement with your answers. So today we'll take the quotation from the US President Ronald Reagan. So Ronald Reagan says that the preservation of our environment is not a liberal or conservative challenge, it's a common sense. Okay, so it's not a liberal idea. Okay, it's not a conservative challenge, it is not a economic challenge, it is a common sense. We have to save the environment if we need to exist. Okay, so conserving the environment, it is a precondition for human existence, and precondition of human existence, it is a common sense that everybody should be knowing and everybody should be inclined to follow that. Okay, so this is a very good idea. Okay, can be used in GS paper number 3, issues of environment. Moreover, in environmental ethics also, GS paper number 4, this idea can be utilized. Now let's move to the first article. Okay, so first of all, let's read the article, that what the article is, and then we'll go into the detailed discussion. Fine. So the article reads that demand grows but DNA tests fall under a gray area. Okay, now guys, the article is talking about the DNA test and the dual challenge that the DNA test will be posing. Now this particular article will see with respect to the GS paper number 2, issues concerning privacy. GS paper number 2, issues concerning privacy. Okay, criminal justice. Okay, and the dilemma between privacy on one hand versus privacy on one hand versus scientific investigation on the other hand. Okay, so let's discuss the article. Now basically, when we talk about the DNA, first of all, some basic things we'll take here which could be important for your prelims examination as well as the science and technology dimension of GS paper number 3. So first of all, what is DNA? What is DNA? So DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. Fine. Now what is DNA? DNA is simply a code. Fine. For example, you see a program. For a program, behind that there will be a code which will be providing that how a program will look like, how a program will function, and all such kind of a things. Now guys, see, we are the humans. Okay, you will look different, I will look different, but internally there are certain processes, the organs, they are similar, they are working in the similar capacity and all such kind of a things. Now you see, the DNA is the human code which will provide that how a human's hair will be, how a human will look, how a human will grow. Okay, so this is the DNA. This is the in most simple terms. So what is the DNA? DNA is a molecule. DNA is a molecule that carries the genetic information. It carries the genetic information which is needed by the body for development and functioning. Is it clear? Now when we talk about the DNA is made up of two linked strands, okay, which wind around each other, and this shape is called as the double helix shape. I had provided you here a kind of an emoji also. Okay, so the DNA, it contains the genetic material, genetic information, okay, which will be very much important for the humans or organisms development. Fine. Now when we talk about the DNA, 99.9% of human DNA sequence is same. 99.9% DNA sequence is same, but 0.1% is different, and that is responsible for the difference in our skin color, hair texture, and all such kind of a things. So guys, there is a DNA. Now actually see this thing, we have seen that 99.9% DNA is same, 0.1% is different, and on the basis of this 0.1 difference, the identity of the people can be ascertained if we investigate their DNA, if we profile their DNA. Now when we talk about the DNA can be extracted from saliva, hair, blood sample, okay, any tissue, fine, nail scrapings, etc. Now as we have understood what the DNA is, the next thing comes, that's the DNA profiling. Now what is the DNA profiling? It is a process of determining an individual's characteristics. Okay, it is DNA profiling. It is a process of identifying a person by using that person's DNA. Is it clear or not? For example, you found some blood sample on crime scene. Fine. Now both will be matched. If there is a match, then further proceedings can be done. So this process of matching a DNA, it is called as a DNA profiling. Fine. Now, just a minute, guys. I hope there is some issue. I think there is some issue that's coming. Let me just check that. Okay. So this is the DNA profiling. Fine. Okay, guys. Now is the voice audible? Okay, is the voice audible now? Okay, so I think now it's fine. There was some error that came in between in the live stream. Okay, so guys, sorry for the interruption. Now, basically we have discussed up till now what the DNA is. We have discussed up till now what the DNA is. We have seen that how DNA profiling can help. Okay, now coming on to the constitutional issue. So actually DNA test, they hold a kind of a gray area. Why they hold a gray area? Because see, number one, by DNA profiling, there is the justice that can be achieved in some specific cases. For example, on murder crime scene, if there is some kind of a DNA sample that has been found, why that DNA profiling, the criminals can be caught. So in justice, in investigation, DNA profiling can play a very important role. But at the same time, it might lead to self-incrimination. Now guys, when we talk about the fundamental rights, fine, there is the right against self-incrimination. It means that a person cannot be the witness against themselves. The person cannot be compelled to be the witness against themselves. Okay, then it might also encroach on the individual privacy. Okay, now when we talk about the fundamental right, there is the article number 21, and as per the Puttaswamy judgment, it has been provided within article number 21, right to privacy is included, and taking a person's DNA might go against the bodily privacy of that particular person. Is it clear or not? So therefore, actually when we talk about the DNA profiling can help in investigation, but DNA profiling will violate an individual's right to privacy. Now in this particular direction, guys, how to balance that? So in the past, the government multiple number of times had come out with the bills to regulate this DNA profiling. Okay, so just a little bit of a background we'll see. So basically, when we talk about the DNA profiling, the Department of Biotechnology has it established a committee known as the DNA Profiling Advisory Committee, and this DNA Profiling Advisory Committee was given a task to suggest that whether India should come out with the DNA profiling bill or not. If yes, then how a bill should be. Okay, so this DNA Profiling Committee provided the DNA Profiling Bill 2006. Fine. However, and on this particular basis, the DNA Profiling Bill 2007 was also introduced, but it did not got passed. Okay, then guys, after that, what happened in 2018? The Law Commission in its 271st report provided that it again provided that we need a DNA profiling bill which will help in investigation, and therefore DNA based technology use and regulation bill 2017 was prepared. Okay, fine. Again, basically this did not become successful, and finally in 2019 the DNA technology use and application Regulation Bill 2019 was again introduced into the Lok Sabha. Okay, and this particular bill is lying there. Fine. Now, this particular bill contained some of the provisions. What are the important provisions of this DNA bill of 2019? Number one, it provided that there will be the national data bank and regional DNA data banks that will be developed. Okay, so these DNA data bank will contain the DNA informations that have been retrieved. Okay, for example, guys, what will be happening up till now, whatever the criminals are there, their DNA information will be collected and it will be stored there. Okay, so all such DNA information will be there in these regional and national DNA banks. After that, there will be the DNA regulatory body. Okay, now board, sorry, what is this DNA regulatory board will be doing? It will be giving the approval to the labs that can analyze the DNA samples. Okay, so I told you that, for example, here this DNA sample is to be ascertained, so obviously there will be a lab who will be doing these testing. So not every lab will be able to do that. Only specific apps who have the approval under a DNA regulatory body, they will be able to do that. Then this particular bill provided that a person's consent is needed to be taken if that particular person's DNA is to be obtained. However, the consent is not required if a person is charged under an offense where the punishment is more than 7 years. Okay, so here the consent will not be required. Okay, so these were the provisions of the DNA profiling bill 2019. But up till now, this particular bill did not got passed because on the privacy there are certain implications that have emerged, and in this particular direction, even what has happened, the Supreme Court in the Puttaswamy judgment, it has already provided that right to privacy will be the fundamental right. Okay, so these are the issues that had come up till now in this particular direction. Okay, now guys, moreover, Supreme Court into the past has given many conflicting directions, and we'll see this particular thing here in the assessment. We'll see how the Supreme Court has given some of the conflicting directions. Number one, the Supreme Court has recently, just a few weeks back, the Supreme Court has provided this thing that compelling an unwilling person to undergo a DNA test would be violation of the personal liberty and the right to privacy. Okay, and because of this particular thing, the Supreme Court has ruled that the DNA profilings might not be very much favorable. Okay, so this is one thing. Now, and then guys, secondly there is another viewpoint also. So Supreme Court says that they are not desirable, but on another hand, the women activists, they had said that actually the DNA testing is important into the matrimonial cases, matrimonial issues sometime. For example, when there is an abandoned mother and the abandoned child, there the DNA test will be very important. For example, what happens many a number of times, the husband abandon their wives and they abandon their children on the charge that actually this child might be illegitimate one. Okay, the women had the extramarital relations with some another man and the child is illegitimate, so the husbands, they have abandoned their wife as well as children. Now, in order to ascertain the paternity, the DNA test can be very important. Otherwise, this particular thing can never be solved. So therefore, the DNA testing in such kind of a things is important. Moreover, the Supreme Court, again, they have passed some other precedents. Okay, for example, in the past, Supreme Court had said that genetic tests, that the judges cannot order the genetic test as a roving inquiry. So the entire inquiry should not be based on these genetic tests. Supreme Court provided it in the Bhavani Prasad Jaina guidelines. Okay, then in the Ashok Kumar judgment, again the Supreme Court provided that before ordering a genetic test, it should be examined onto the basis of the proportionality of the legitimate aims. Okay, now understand what is this proportionality, what does it mean? So see, every time there will be certain cost is to benefit ratio. Whatever you are doing, it will have certain cost and then there will be the benefit. So the cost to benefit ratio is to be seen. Fine. Then again the Supreme Court, what happened few years back, Supreme Court heard a man's plea for the DNA test to prove his wife's infidelity and the parentage of the child. So the husband said that the wife had carried some extramarital relation and the parentage of that child was disputed. So the DNA test was ordered and the Supreme Court allowed that also. Now what actually has happened here up till now? Why I am giving you all these particular references? Guys, actually see this thing. Supreme Court had given sometimes that the DNA test needs to be done. They have approved the DNA test. Sometimes the Supreme Court says that the DNA profiling will go against the fundamental right to privacy. Okay. Moreover, the Puttaswamy judgment has also said that the right to privacy is a fundamental right under Article number 21. In this particular background, what has happened? The DNA profiling bill, it is basically it is hanging in air. Second thing is that over the years, there have been the demands that are growing for the DNA test. Okay, but the DNA tests actually are falling into the gray area. Okay, so the gray area where it is not ascertained. Fine, so this is something that has been provided. Here it has been provided. Okay, here it has been provided by an official that every year the request about the DNA profiling, it's increasing by the rate of 20%. Okay, so you don't need to go that how many tests are happening, but the point is that this gray area needs to be resolved. Okay, and finally on this particular thing a decision should come. So this is an issue, and guys, a very important issue. Fine, we have tried a lot that that I should give you the entire information around this entire issue. Okay, so the concept into the newspaper cutting was just this, that this needs to be cleared. But please all these provisions of the DNA regulation bill 2019, law commission's 271 report, etc., please attach it in your notes. A very important topic for exam. Now we'll move to the next article. Are there anti-superstition laws in India? Okay, now this particular article will see with respect to the GS paper number 2, social justice, GS paper number 2, social justice, governance. Okay, and governance. Now basically, before going in this article, let me tell you some of a background, and after understanding this background, will be going in this article. So recently there was a human sacrifice case that happened into the Kerala. So human sacrifice case. Now these human sacrifices, all these kind of things are because of the superstitions that are being held by the people. In some of the states, the women, many number of times, they have been branded as witch, Diane. Okay, and because of that thing also, the women have been exploited, they have been physically harassed, all such kind of things happen. So superstitions are a very problematic thing. Moreover, these superstitions goes against the fundamental duty, article number 51A, where we as the citizens have to maintain a scientific temperament. So the superstitions will go against the scientific temperament. Now are there the laws in India to deal with such kind of a superstitions or not? Now first of all, I want to give you a little bit of a data that how these human sacrifice and the law and order problems because of the superstitions, they are becoming very problematic. So according to recently released National Crime Record Bureau, they have provided that there are 68 murders in 2021 that happened because of the witchcraft, Diane, basically the witchcraft and all such kind of things. Moreover, there are the cases of 6 cases of the child human sacrifice that has also been there. So children are being sacrificed for some virility, prosperity, wealth and all such kind of things. So that has happened, and recently in the Kerala also this a human sacrifice case happened. Now first of all, understand this particular thing, that we have the schedules basically in the Schedule 7 of the Indian Constitution. There is the concurrent, there are the 3 lists, that is the state list, union list and concurrent list. So the matters which are there into the union list only Parliament can make law. The matters which are into the state list, the states will be making the law. Now when we talk about the law and order is a state subject. So therefore it means that the state government will be making the law on this particular matter. So because of this particular reason, law and order being in the state list, there is no central law. The central law is not there which will deal with the crimes related to the witchcraft, superstition or occult practices. Fine. So therefore, because there is not a nationwide law, the states have enacted their own laws to deal with the witchcraft, witch hunting, human sacrifice, superstition, all such kind of a things. Now guys, in this particular direction, I will be showing you the examples of the states where these state specific legislations are there. Okay, if a question comes on this particular matter, we can give the examples of these states. Moreover, we can provide that other states should also replicate where this law is not there, and more importantly, not having a law is important, rather the implementation of that particular law in an effective manner is very important. Okay, now first of all, when we talk about these witchcraft and superstition related laws, the Bihar was the first state that have enacted the law to prevent the witchcraft, identification of a woman as a witch, elimination and the bill to eliminate the torture, humiliation and killing of the women. Actually, Bihar has been the forerunner in many of the progressive legislations. Are you getting? For example, the bill for the time bound delivery of goods and the bill for the time bound delivery of the government services and bill for the grievance redressal mechanism. The Bihar was the first state to float both of these. Okay, fine. So the Bihar has been progressive state in the in floating the legislations, but sometimes the problem comes in Bihar onto the implementational aspect. But otherwise, it has been a state where such notable steps have been taken. Now, the Prevention of Witch or the Dian Practice Act, it came in existence in 1999 and it provides both the jail term as well as a fine if such witchcraft is being practiced or if some women is being exploited onto the pretext of that the woman is Dian or a witch. Fine. Then the similar law has been passed in the Jharkhand also, that is the Prevention of Witch or the Dian Practices Act. Okay. Now guys, see this particular thing, that you don't need to remember the entire official name of the law. Is it clear? Because sometimes they'll be very long. Simply you can refer that Witchcraft Prevention Act. Fine. Now after that, the Odisha High Court also gave the guideline to the Odisha government that they need to pass a bill for the witchcraft, and in this particular direction what happened, the Odisha Prevention of Witch Hunting Bill was passed by the assembly, and it again also provides penalties for the witch doctor or a person who is claiming to be the black magician, all such kind of things. Then apart from that, there are other state governments also who had come out with the law in this particular direction. For example, Maharashtra Prevention and Eradication of Human Sacrifices and Other Inhuman, Evil and Aghori Practices and Black Magic Act. So this is the reason that I was telling you that you don't need to remember the entire official name of the act. Simply you can say that the Maharashtra Prevention of Black Magic Act, and in such way also you can provide. It will not be any problem in the UPSC exam. Then the Assam Witch Hunting Act is there. Karnataka Prevention and Eradication of Inhuman, Evil Practices and Black Magic Act is there. Okay, so these are some of the states which had come out with these kind of laws. Recently, I told you already that in Kerala there was a human sacrifice case that happened. Now, into the context of Kerala, already the State Law Reform Commission of the Kerala has recommended that there needs to be a act for this particular thing, and Kerala Prevention and Eradication of Inhuman, Evil Practices, Sorcery and Black Magic Bill has been proposed, but up till now this particular bill has not been passed. Government has not taken any steps on this particular direction. Because of this thing, and in the limelight of the human sacrifice case that happened, Kerala High Court has also asked the state government that why they have not passed this bill and what steps they have actually taken in order to deal with this sorcery, black magic, inhuman practices, etc., which has been there. So guys, at this point of time, see, understand this particular thing, that we have celebrated the 75 years of independence. Okay, and we are entering in Amrit Kal. That is the next 25 years. So in 2047, India will become a 100-year-old democracy. Okay, 100-year-old country. Okay, after the colonialism. So these 25 years in which we are entering into the Amrit Kal, okay, they are very much instrumental. We need to have the spirit of scientific temperament. We are entering in an era which will be characterized by the artificial intelligence, machine to machine communication, fourth industrial revolution, and there such superstitions, such inhuman practices don't hold any place. So the state governments need to be very vigilant on such kind of things, and these matters are needed to be dealt. Okay, so that's all about it, and now we'll move to the next article. Dolphins return to the Ganga in Uttar Pradesh. Okay, now basically what the article is talking about, the article is talking about the Gangetic dolphins who have returned back after the improvement in the quality of water, quality of the river water. Okay, now first of all, this particular article, guys, it is very important, and we'll see this article with respect to the prelims examination. We'll see with this article with respect to the prelims examination within the question of environment, ecology and the conservation. Why? Because the Gangetic dolphins happens to be a very important species in the exam, and the questions could be asked on this particular line. Now, before going on this particular article, I would like to tell you little bit about the Gangetic dolphin. Gangetic dolphin. So when we talk about the Gangetic dolphin, guys, okay, it is a river dolphin. River dolphin means that it will be found into the fresh waters. Okay, fresh water. So this dolphin, Gangetic dolphin, is found in the Ganges, Brahmaputra, Meghna, Karnfuli and Sangu river systems. Okay, so they are found in these rivers in the Nepal, India and Bangladesh, and prominently in the Ganges into the Ganga this dolphin is found. Therefore it is also called as the Gangetic dolphin. Okay, this Gangetic dolphin, it is also called as sometimes the Susu. Okay, now these Gangetic dolphins, they have been given the highest level of protection. Number one, they are listed into the Indian Wildlife Protection Act 1972 Schedule 1. Schedule 1 is the one where if a species is listed, they will be given the highest level of protection. Okay, then under the IUCN Red List, they have been given the status of endangered, and because of the endangered status, the governments have to take the efforts for their preservation, for their protection. Fine. After that, there is the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species, that is the CITES Convention. Under the CITES Convention, they are listed into the Appendix 1, that is they are the most endangered. Now guys, the CITES, it aims to regularize the import and export of the species. Sometimes the trade into the species might threaten their survival, might threaten their existence. So therefore, some of the species, they are highly regulated. Their import and exports cannot happen for usual purposes. So the appendix number 1 is there, which gives the most high level protection. So the Gangetic dolphins are there into the appendix 1. Now when we talk about the Gangetic dolphin, they are very important species because they are the indicator species. Indicator species is the one which indicates the health of a ecosystem. Okay, so it basically shows the health of the river ecosystem. If the pollution in the river will increase, if the dissolved oxygen into the river will go down, these dolphins will migrate away from that particular region. So if the Gangetic dolphins are present, we can say that the river health is good. If they are not present, then we'll say that the river health is not good. And this Gangetic dolphin has also been recognized as the national aquatic animal in 2009. Okay, so very important one. Now when we talk about the Gangetic dolphins, they are essentially blind. Fine, they live in fresh water and they are blind. So therefore they are able to navigate, they are able to find their way by using the ultrasonic sounds. As these ultrasonic sound will bounce off from the nearby objects, the dolphins will be able to get an idea of direction and navigation. Okay, they actually see the image in their mind onto the basis of these ultrasonic sound waves. Okay, and therefore they are called as the Susu also. Now as we are talking about the Gangetic dolphin, there are also the projects, there are also the conservation efforts for the dolphin. Number 1 is the Project Dolphin. Now the Project Dolphin, basically the Prime Minister in his independence speech in the 2020 Independence Day speech provided that we are going to launch the Project Dolphin onto the lines of the Project Tiger. Now Project Tiger has been very much instrumental in reviving the tiger population. So on that particular thing, on that particular line, Project Dolphin will also be announced. And then there is the Dolphin Sanctuary, which is other designated safe zone for the Gangetic dolphins. So Vikramshila Ganges Dolphin Sanctuary has been established already into the Bihar. So all these are the conservation efforts that have been taken for the protection of the Gangetic dolphin. And then there is the Namami Gange program. Namami Gange program. So under the Namami Gange program, or the program to clean the Ganga river, it has been taken up. Now it will also help in restoring the population of dolphins, because I told you that they are an indicator species. If the health of the river will be good, they'll stay there. So by cleaning the Ganga, the population of the dolphins, Gangetic dolphins, will be revived. Okay, so this is something that has happened. Now it is being provided that Okay, so into the article, the investment that has been taken up, okay, basically the treatment capacity of 33 MLD has been added and all such kind of things have been provided. That is not important for examination. Now we need to see, because of the Namami Gange program, because of the cleaning of the Ganga, what is happening? The dolphin presence is likely to go up in the number, okay. So this is something that is going to happen. Fine. So now their dolphins are returning back because of the cleaning efforts that have happened. Fine. So guys, in the article, much of substance is not there, but this topic, that is the Gangetic dolphin for the ecology and environment, is important for our exam. Fine. So that is all about it. And now we'll move to the next article. Now, united against the terror. United against the terror. So guys, this is the article that we have taken from the editorial page, and this particular article talks about the India's efforts in against the terrorism within the UNSC, United Nations Security Council framework. So all these particular things we are going to see. Moreover, we will also be seeing briefly about the UNSC for the prelims examination as well. So guys, this particular article will be important for the GS paper number 2, international relations, as well as within the international organizations. Then with respect to the prelims examination, we will see some of the facts or the basic information about the UNSC, which can be asked into the exam, because into the past onto the international groupings in the prelims also the questions have been asked. Okay, so let's take it. Now, first of all, let's little bit discuss about the UNSC. When we talk about the UNSC, it stands for United Nations Security Council, and it is one of the principal organ of the United Nations. Fine. United Nations Security Council has a particular mandate to maintain the international peace as well as to establish the international security. Now, the UNSC also plays important role. Fine. For example, it selects the United Nations Secretary General. Also, it will be choosing the judges for the International Court of Justice. Is it clear or not? Fine. So United Nations Secretary General will be appointed. Okay. The judges for the International Court of Justice will be appointed by UNSC. When we talk about the membership of the UNSC, it is made up of 15 members. 5 are the permanent members, which are also called as P5, and 10 are the non-permanent members. These 10 members are elected for the 2-year term. When we talk about the 5 permanent members, are China, France, Russia, UK and USA. And these 5 permanent members, they also hold the veto power. It means that if any decision is to be passed, fine, then the 5 members have to pass it in consensus. If any one members, for example, let's say China, uses their veto, then that particular resolution will not be passed. Okay. Apart from these 5 permanent members, there are 10 non-permanent members also. Now, these non-permanent members are elected, I told you, for the term of 2 years each. Right now, India is the member of UNSC in the capacity of these non-permanent members. Fine. And this is not the first time that India has been chosen as a non-permanent member. Earlier also such thing has happened. So India up till now has served 7 times in the United Nations Security Council as a non-permanent member. In 2021, India again got the seat into the UNSC as the permanent member. Okay. So now in 2021, India has entered for the 8th time into the UNSC. Please keep all these things in your mind. And when we talk about India, within the UNSC, India is also asking a permanent seat in the UNSC. And there is even a G4 grouping. There is even a G4 grouping for the UNSC's permanent seats. Okay. And in this G4 grouping, there is India, Japan. Okay. Just a minute. I think there is some connection error. Okay, guys, is my voice audible? Is my voice audible to everyone? Fine. Yes. So, what we were talking, yes. So, India is talking about the permanent seat into the United Nations Security Council, because India always say this particular thing, that the representation of other regions of the world, for example, the representation of Asia, it is not proportionate. The representation of South Asia, it's not there. Okay. There is over representation of the Western world. So, therefore, the seats structure need to be changed, and the permanent members are needed to be increased. And India India wants a permanent seat for them. I told you that there is a G4 grouping, that is the grouping of the 4 countries which are asking for a permanent seats. In that we have the India, Japan, then there is Brazil and Germany. So India, Japan, Brazil and Germany. These are the 4 members which are wanting which want a permanent seat. Okay. Then moving on in this particular direction. Now guys, coming to the present issue. Now you see this particular thing under the UNSC. As right now India is in the non-permanent member, India is saying that we need to take stringent actions for the eradication of terrorism in the world. Now in this particular direction, what has happened recently, the CTC, that is, just a minute. So recently the CTC, that is the Counter-Terrorism Committee has been hosted by the India into the Mumbai as well as Delhi. Now, first of all, when we talk about the countries, fine, many of them are not very much serious on the issue of terrorism, but India has been very serious on dealing with the terrorism problem. For example, when we talk about guys the China has most of the times not supported the India's in its effort to curb the terrorism. For example, what happened recently, India and the USA, India and the UNSC, India and the USA, they proposed into the United Nations Security Council to designate certain of the terrorist and the terrorist organization as the international terrorist organizations of concern. So the proposal was floated by India and USA in the UNSC. But what happened? China came in between, fine, and China placed on hold this joint India USA proposals. Okay, basically we India and USA wanted to list the LAT's commander under the 1267 Sanctions Committee. Now, what is this 1267 Committee? 1267 Committee was actually set up in 1999, and under this 1267 Committee, it allows any United Nations member that they can propose the name of a terrorist or the name of a terrorist group which have the links with the Al-Qaeda and IS. So, if any person or organization having the link, then under the 1267 Committee, they can propose their names. They will be added into the list of the international terrorists. Okay, so the India and USA proposed, but the China has blocked that particular thing. Now, why China does that particular thing? China does that thing in order to appease the Pakistan. Fine, in order to appease the Pakistan. So actually this is something that has happened into the past, but India is very much considerate, and in this direction now what India is doing, India is hosting the Counter-Terrorism Committee. Okay, so this Counter-Terrorism Committee session has been held in the Mumbai as well as into the Delhi, fine, on 28th and 29th. Now what are the key take now? Right now the India says this particular thing, that the world is right now busy on this Russia-Ukraine war that is going on, and as this Russia-Ukraine war is going on, the world is not considering the challenge of terrorism particularly. So therefore this CTC meet has been held here. The United Nations officials, the ministers, the diplomats from the members country of the UNSC, they have come together and they have discussed that how we can deal with the problem of terrorism, okay, how to restrict the funding for the terrorism. All such kind of things have been provided. Now, what are the major takeaways? What are the major takeaways from this CTC meet that has happened? So therefore the CTC, Committee for Countering Terrorism, CTC, it has focused on the online radicalization and terror recruitment that is becoming prominent. Now guys, see this thing on the social media, there is the radicalization campaigns that are being done. Okay, that recruitment is happening. Even there have been reports into the past that the IS particularly recruiting the youth through the online recruitments. Fine, so this online radicalization of the people and recruitment, it is needed to be curbed. Then terror financing through cryptocurrencies and the virtual assets, they are needed to be curbed. Fine. Now these are certain things that are the areas of concern. After that, India has also proposed that the unmanned aerial systems, UAV, drones, okay, drones, fine, they should be used for making the terror strikes, transporting the for making the terror strikes. And sometimes you see this particular thing, that even these terrorist organizations, they are also using the drones at the same time for transporting the drugs and the arms. Actually, recently what had happened, this also became a cause of concern, that these drones, they have the dual usages. Okay, they are being used by the enforcement agencies for good things, that is good, but at the same time these drones are also being used for transporting drugs and arms. So we need to curb this kind of a thing. Fine, where the terrorists are using that. Now, because as this particular CTC meet was going on, what has happened, Delhi Declaration has emerged. So it stands for Delhi Declaration on countering the use of new and emerging technologies for a terrorist purpose. Okay, so this Delhi Declaration aims that such drones should not be used. This is something which is an important one. Moreover, India has also provided that India will be hosting no money for terror conference, okay, as well as under the UNSC, India will also be hosting a special briefing onto the challenges of global counter-terrorism efforts that have been there. So this is all what India is doing into the UNSC. Now you see this particular thing, that as I've told you, that this is the 8th time that India entered into the UNSC as a non-permanent member. So whenever a country goes in such kind of a grouping, what are the efforts that have been taken by them? What are the steps that have been taken by them? They become a kind of an important thing. So while India was into the UNSC, these are the things that India has done. Moreover, understand this particular thing. India provides this particular thing, that 26/11 attack into the Mumbai that has happened. Okay, it showcases such kind of a thing, that every country is vulnerable to such kind of a terror attacks. Actually, there was a 9/11 that happened in US, 26/11 that has happened into the India, and at the same time in other countries also such terrorist attacks have happened. So in order to deal with, now see, terrorism is a common challenge that is being faced by everybody. So countries should come together and should have a collaborative approach. Okay, so that is all, guys, about this particular article. And now we'll move to the next article. The extra constitutional delusions of Raj Bhavan. Okay, so this particular article will see with respect to the GS paper number 2, polity, GS paper number 2 polity. Okay, and one more thing, guys, that actually within the polity, the federal issues, the disputes between the governor and chief minister, there will see that. Now coming to this article. Okay, by the way, if you are following the newspaper analysis regularly, we have discussed this particular issue into the past also, but again this article has come, and this article is really very important. So some constitutional articles we are going to discuss. So what has happened recently, the Kerala governor is in the news because of some particular reasons, because of the tussle going on between the Kerala governor and the Kerala chief minister. So recently the Kerala governor said this particular thing, that if the individual ministers are making certain kind of statements which are lowering the dignity of the office of the governor, then the governor will withdraw the pleasure. Now, what we mean by withdrawing the pleasure? Actually, article number 164 subclause 1 provides that a minister shall hold their office till the pleasure of the governor. It means that if the governor has withdrawn the pleasure, then the minister will not be able to hold the office. So indirectly the governor had said that anybody criticizing the office of governor, the governor will remove that minister by withdrawing the pleasure. This is something that has been done. Now the question comes that, is it something which is in the power of the governor? Can really governor do that particular thing? Because for that particular thing, we need to read the constitution little bit more deeply. Recently, in this particular direction, what happened, Kerala governor also sent the letter to the Kerala's chief minister and had said that he had withdrawn the pleasure from the state finance minister. Is it clear or not? He has withdrawn the pleasure. This is something, and at the same time, vice chancellors of the universities have also been expelled by the governor. So this is something that is happening. Now, we need to read the article number 163 of the Indian Constitution. So article 163 subclause 1. 163 subclause 1 specifically provides that the Council of Minister must aid and advise the governor. Council of Minister must aid and advise the governor, and article 163(2) provides that the governor can act in his discretion in certain matters as permitted by the constitution. Now what it means into the simple terms? It means that the chief minister and the Council of Ministers has to advise the governor. Governor needs to act only on that particular advice, but there are certain circumstances when governor can act in own discretion. For example, if the chief minister is not able to prove the majority, then governor can choose another chief minister. But until and unless, now this is very clear, even the Supreme Court has provided it in multiple judgments, that till the time the chief minister is enjoying the majority into the house, only on chief minister's advice, then the governor has to take the decision. Okay, this is something that has been provided. Now it's provided that actually when we read the article 164 and 163 together, we understand this particular thing, that unless the cabinet or the chief minister advises the expulsion of a minister, governor cannot cause the exit of a particular minister by withdrawing the pleasure. It means that the governor cannot withdraw the pleasure on his or her own will, on their own whims and fancies. The pleasure can only be withdrawn when the chief minister will advise, and in this matter chief minister has not advised it. Even there is the Shamsher Singh versus State of Punjab judgment. Now this judgment is something, now guys, this judgment is actually very important even for the president also, because here the comparison of Indian president is done with the American president. In the Shamsher Singh versus State of Punjab, the Supreme Court mentioned that the president of the USA is not bound to accept any advice tendered by any of his secretaries, but Indian president will be bound by the advice of the ministers. Okay, he cannot do anything which is against the advice of the Council of Ministers. Secondly, in this Shamsher Singh judgment, it has also been provided that the president of the US can dismiss any secretary at any time. Fine, Indian president cannot dismiss any minister at any time. Okay, until and unless the government is commanding the majority, they cannot be removed. Okay, so this is something. So the comparison between the Indian and the USA's president has been done, and the article says that actually the same principle will apply to the governor also, because the office of the governor has been developed onto the scheme of the office of the president. So whatever is applicable to president, that will be applicable to governor also. So as the Indian president cannot dismiss the ministers, governor cannot also do that particular thing. So the pleasure of the president, pleasure of the governor is actually conditional. Now the office of the governor actually has the colonial origin. The Government of India Act 1858 situated the governor under the supervision of the Governor General. Okay, and over the period this particular office has evolved. Now in the Shamsher Singh versus State of Punjab, Supreme Court has very clearly provided that the governor has no right to refuse. Okay, no right to refuse the advice given by the Council of Ministers, and against that also he or she cannot perform. So this is something that has happened. So clearly we find this thing, that in the issue of Kerala, the governor is overstepping the mandate, which is leading to the constitutional crisis. Now as far as possible, these constitutional crises are needed to be avoided. So that is all guys about this particular article, and now we'll move to the next article. A check over the USA's much anticipated NSS. Now this particular article will see with respect to the GS paper number 2, international relations, within the IR, the policies of the developed countries and their impact on India. There we'll see the policies of the developed country and their impact on India. So this is specifically mentioned. Now what this article is talking about. So this article is talking about the national security strategy that has been launched by the USA recently. Now what is this national security strategy and what are the components of this recently launched NSS? All these things we are seeing here. So when we talk about the NSS, that is the National Security Strategy, it is a document which is prepared from time to time by the executive branch of the USA, and it will provide that what are the national security threats to the USA, what are the international security threats to the USA, what are the concerns, and how to deal with these particular concerns. So this is something all which is contained into the NSS, National Security Strategy document. Okay, now this particular document finds its genesis into the Goldwater Nicholas Department of Defense Reorganization Act 1986, which was signed by the President Ronald Reagan. Okay, now you don't need to go too much into this detail. if you want to remember, you can simply remember as the Goldwater-Nichols Act, that sort. Okay, now recently the Joe Biden, the president of the USA, they have released their NSS, that is the National Security Strategy. It has focused on certain core areas. For example, it has focused on to the USA's leadership, how to improve the US economy. USA needs to develop the alliances, the network of alliances and all such kind of things. Now, what are the key components of the NSS? We'll discuss them now one by one. So, NSS lays down some basic fulcrums of the US strategy, means the focus areas of the USA. So, it provides that USA should focus on invest, build and modernize. Invest, build and modernize. Invest in economy, build the capabilities of the their defense forces, and as to modernize the economy as well as defense forces. Number one, under the NSS, it has been provided that they would seek to invest into the tools of American power and influence. They will strengthen the economy at home. US's economy will be strengthened, critical infrastructure will be strengthened, microchips and semiconductors. In these technologies, the investment will be done so that the dependence on China can be reduced. Then next thing is that the US is focusing on building the coalitions of the nations. Okay, you see the quadrilateral security dialogue. Quad is there, AUKUS is there, I2U2 is there. So coalitions are to be built around the world. And then finally, they are considering the modernization of the USA's. Okay, and they want to develop the capabilities of the USA's defense forces so that they can tackle the internal and external security challenges. At the same time, USA has also named China as the only competitor with the capability. So they say that the next threat to the USA's hegemony will be the China, and they need to deal with this China factor that has been there. At the same time, the NSS has also talked about that they will not allow any unilateral change to Taiwan's status. Now you see this particular thing, Taiwan has become a source of contention. Now the China runs the one China principle, and as per this one China principle, China says that the Taiwan will be merged back with the China one day. Now the USA says that such unilateral change should not happen. After that, the NSS has also said that now basically we need to collaborate more with the countries such as the Japan and India. They can fill the emerging gaps. Okay, so Russian economy is downgraded, China is the threat, and to deal with that, Japan and India's cooperation will be needed. So basically the NSS of USA had identified India as a partner. So India is a both bilateral, multilateral partner into the Indo-Pacific, all such kind of a thing. So this is something that is there. Now guys, it's provide this particular thing that as we are talking about modernizing our own defense, also we are talking about the indigenization of the defense in India, we need partners, and in the name of USA we can get a meaningful partner. We already have carried the relationships with the USA through multiple alliances. For example, the Quad partnership is there, I2U2 is there. Fine. Under the Quad, India, Australia, Japan, USA is there. I2U2, India, Israel, UAE, USA is there. So under this, the partnerships are being developed, and as USA also equally needs India, India needs to leverage this particular situation now. So that is all guys about this particular article. Fine. So I hope that you have understood this particular article, and the article is giving a kind of a very fresh perspective. Okay. Now we'll move to the next article. India now enables low-cost production, high-output Prime Minister. Now, this particular article will see with respect to the GS paper number 3, indigenization of defense. Okay. Now, guys, first of all, let me give you little bit of a background. So, basically, according to the SIPRI report, okay, SIPRI, according to SIPRI report, India happens to be one of the largest importer of the weaponry in the world, and as we are the largest importer of the weaponry, it leads to multiple challenges for the India. Number one challenge that comes here is that India's reliance on the other countries, India's over dependence, and it will defeat the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. Second problem that comes here is that when we are importing so much of weaponry, we need to give a lot of foreign foreign exchange, and it worsens the current account deficit of India. Okay, trade deficit of India. So therefore, in the past 2 years, India has been very rigorously talking about the defense indigenization. We need to develop indigenous capabilities of manufacturing our own defense weaponry. Now, in this particular direction, guys, India has already started the transformative journey. From being the largest defense importer, we now want to become the defense exporter. And in this particular direction, India has also taken a target. India has provided that we will achieve the manufacturing turnover of $25 billion, that is 1,75,000 crore rupees by 2025. And in this manufacturing turnover, $5 billion need to come from aerospace and defense goods. So India want to export the weaponry now. And in this direction, India is leading many steps. And recently what has happened, the Prime Minister has now laid down the foundation stone for C-295 transport aircraft manufacturing facility at Vadodara. Now what is this C-295 aircraft? Okay, basically guys, C-295, it is a transportation aircraft. It is a transportation aircraft which is being manufactured jointly by the Tata Advanced System Limited, TASL, and Airbus Defence and Space Limited, and it is being developed into the Vadodara. Now when we talk about the C-295 aircraft, this is the aircraft which can be used for the transportation purposes into the areas which are not accessible by the heavy aircrafts. Is it clear or not? So the C-295, it is a kind of an aircraft which can give the logistic connectivity to some inaccessible regions, and they will be now manufactured into the Gujarat. Now understand this particular thing, that this is the first project in which military aircraft will be manufactured in India by the private sector through technology transfer. Now what is happening? Tata will manufacture by the technology transfer. Who is giving technology transfer? The Airbus Defence and Space Limited, and the aircrafts will be given to our defense forces. Now when we talk about India, guys, actually India is moving forward along with the Make in India, Make for the Globe. Actually these aircrafts that will be built, they will be used in India also, and then these aircrafts will be exported to the other countries also. So it is a win-win situation for India. So that is all about it, and now we'll move to the next article. OneWeb satellites will enhance rural connectivity, Prime Minister Modi. Okay, so guys, what has happened? So recently, the Prime Minister has given his Man Ki Baat radio broadcast. Fine. In the Man Ki Baat, the Prime Minister had given certain references, and these references will see as they can be used as examples in our answers. So number one, the Prime Minister has talked about the OneWeb satellite. Now what is the OneWeb satellite system? So basically guys, the OneWeb, it is a UK based consortium where the satellites are being launched into the low earth orbit, and these satellites will provide the connectivity into the rural areas, connectivity into the jungles, or the connectivities where the normal telecom connectivity is not there. So today we are talking about the satellite communication, and now the satellite communication is very important for rural connectivity, and for that recently 36 satellites have been launched into the orbit. Okay, and these 36 satellites here, the ISRO has played a very important role. So this is something which proves the capabilities of India's ISRO. Then it has been provided by the Prime Minister that now we are revolutionizing the space sector, we are opening up the space sector. Already by the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, we have opened the space sector, and specifically in space as an organization has been already provided, which will be helping the private sector that they can come out with their startups into the defense technologies. So we have done these things. Fine. Now the domestic industries, the startups are bringing innovations, new technologies, fine, into the space sector. Secondly, the Prime Minister has also provided that recently there was a problem solving skill session that was organized on this date. Date are not important. Now at this problem solving skill session, 23 IITs, they showcased their innovative projects. So 75 projects on healthcare, agriculture, robotics, semiconductor, 5G communications, they were displayed. Now, why it is important? It's important because, guys, when we talk about the India's premier institutions such as IITs, they are coming out with the path-breaking inventions which are very important to solve the many complex challenges of India. And then there are some other examples that have been talked about. So basically, the Prime Minister has given the example. For example, in Kanchipuram, a farmer got benefited under the Pradhan Mantri Kusum Yojana. Under the Pradhan Mantri Kusum Yojana, he had established the solar pump in the farm, and by the solar pump, that particular person is able to get the advantage, better irrigation now he is able to do. So Pradhan Mantri Kusum Yojana has helped. Then a team of tribal women in Coimbatore, they have crafted 10,000 eco-friendly terracotta teacups for exports. Okay, in the Tripura, a village got the status of Bio Village 2. A Bio Village 2 is that village which emphasizes how to minimize the damage caused by the natural disaster. So if a village, the Bio Village 2 is something which has the capabilities to deal with these natural disasters, is equipped to minimize the damages that will happen. So these are some of the references that has been given into the Prime Minister's Man Ki Baat address. So here there is no background, here there is no thing that you need to go little bit. These things you can jot down in your notes, and if a question is coming on this particular line, and if you are writing an answer, you can complement by giving the reference that recently Prime Minister also mentioned such kind of initiative. So there we can use it. So full-fledged question, guys, see, full-fledged question on Man Ki Baat or such address will not come. These things can just be used as references, just as an examples in your answers. So that is all about this particular thing. Fine. So that is all. And now let's discuss the mains practice question for today. So today's question is GS paper number 2, and the question reads: Governor is the constitutional head of the state as well as the vital link between the union and state government. However, in the recent times, we have seen tussle between governor and chief minister. Discuss with examples. Okay, so this is a 10-marker question, GS paper number 2, governance. So that is all, guys, about it. And with this, we come to an end to the today's newspaper analysis. Guys, I hope that you are liking the initiative and you are finding that there might be some value addition that is happening in your preparation. So that is all for today. And guys, if you have liked the video, you can hit the like button, and you can always leave your lovely comments, which are a very big source of our inspiration and our motivation to continue this initiative, often even when it becomes really difficult. Okay, so that is all about it. And now let's meet tomorrow. Till then, please take care of yourselves. Thank you so much.